Hello, my dear students. I welcome you all to my channel. Today we are going to learn an English chapter of class 9. The name of the chapter is Mauritius and it's written by R.K. Lakshman. So yes, students, today we are going to explore Mauritius with the eyes and words of R.K. Lakshman. But before exploring Mauritius, students, if you are viewing my video for the first time, do subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that you get the notifications of my latest videos. And if you like the video, do hit the like button. So students, today we are going to learn here a half part of the chapter so that we learn and understand it properly. The description of Mauritius is done in a very peculiar and good manner by R.K. Lakshman. So let us understand it paragraph by paragraph. So he says that the word atlas I have with me has many little dots and specks which have really nothing to do with the world or geography. It is an old one, and time, the weather, and generation of cockroaches have put them there. So it was with some difficulty that I was able to locate Mauritius in the vastness of the Indian Ocean. It is a tiny speck of an island situated below the equator on the 20th parallel, some 4,500 kilometers southwest of Bombay. The students are saying that it was very difficult for him to find out Mauritius from the atlas which he was having. It was difficult to locate. Why? Because he's saying that it had many little small dots and specks on it. Now these thoughts were here because it was an old dictionary, old atlas which he had kept, and from the so many times and the weather keeping change and the generation of cockroaches which was just going on through it has made this dots and specks on it which has to do nothing with the world or the geography, he says. So with very much difficulty was able to locate Mauritius in the vastness of the Indian Ocean. As you see in the map, in the world map, in the atlas, you can find in the Indian Ocean, you find Mauritius being a small, tiny speck of island. So that is how he is saying that it is a tiny speck of island and it is just situated below the equator which is the middle line which is going through the earth. And it is some 4,005 kilometers from southwest of Bombay. Then he says, now he has started his journey. Now when he is on his spacecraft and his flight, let us see what he has to share with us. Then he says, our aircraft is bearing us towards it. Through the occasional gloss in the clouds, I glimpse the ocean spread like bluish-gray steel sheet. Now when he's on his flight, he could see from his glass, the window glass which is there on the flight. He can glimpse the whole ocean and he feels that it is spread like a bluish-gray steel sheet because it's a calm ocean over there. So he can see as if a gray sheet of a steel is just laid down. Then he can also see the acres and acres of cloud which are below and having all sorts of funny shapes in an abstract way, which is just unbelievable. You cannot recognize it. There are some different shapes and sizes of the clouds which you can see. Then he says that it is assuming that it is resembling the figures of the ancient legends, some ancient gods and goddesses, and some ancient stories where you have characters of China, Rome, Greece, and India, and what have you. All the ancient legends can be seen with the clouds with different shapes and the sizes there. Then he says, I cannot help drawing the comparison. He had one comparison when he was traveling there 10,000 meters above and in the flight. After watching the clouds, he had a kind of imagination, a vague observation was in his mind, something very weird that this is how the Mauritius would be. As even we assume after listening that this place might be like this, we start imagining. But when we actually go to the place, we find something else. So that is what happened here when he had his vague observations, and when he went and he learned that some Mauritius was something other what he had imagined. There was a vast comparison between his drawing in the sense the thinking which he had in his mind. So it was vast difference between his thinking, the imagination which he had, and what he observed there in the real Mauritius. Then he says this tiny island has an astonishingly similar variety. He says that this tiny island is a mixture of all odd races and languages. Juxtaposition in incongruities means something which is very contrast, opposite to each other, and which is not adjustable. So such kinds of people and races and language, everything is mixed up here in Mauritius, and it's a very different and very very pleasant view to see there. They are so tolerated people. They are so tolerant. They are so hospitable people there. So this is how he shares his experience about the Mauritius. Students, you can see here the picture of one old atlas where it would be very difficult for the author to find the Mauritius there. Then in the other picture, you can see the view of the different shapes of the clouds which have been there. After seeing these clouds, the author had different kind of imagination and observation about the Mauritius in his mind, which later he discovered was totally different. Okay, students. Then he says that here Africans and Chinese, Biharis, Dutch, Persians and Tamils, Arabs, French and English all rub shoulders merrily with one another and emerge with a peculiar sense of oneness. Means in spite of being from different races, different countries, different languages, different religion, everyone is equal there. They rub shoulders merrily means they're happily living together without any partiality. They are having the sense and feeling of oneness over there. Then he said he met to happen to meet a Tamilian there, and he says that he was having a South Indian face. And when we asked his name, it was Radhakrishnan Govindan. It was a typical South Indian Tamilian name and a person by face from his look. But he's saying when I speak to him in Tamil, he surprised me by responding in a frightful mangled English with a heavy French accent. Now he says, when I spoke to this person, Radhakrishna Govindan, he surprised me because he was speaking in English. That it was a mangled English, broken and all damaged English, but he had a heavy French accent in his English. And then he says, Mr. Govindan has no language of Tamil because he is from centuries living here in Mauritius. He has lost that accent and he could not curl his tongue and produce this Tamil sounds because from centuries he is being settled there. So he was finding difficult to speak in his own language. Rather, he was speaking in mangled English and he had a French accent in it. Then he says, like others of his fellow men, his ancestors were brought to the island as slaves or later as indentured laborers to work in sugarcane fields and factories. Then the author says when he had a conversation with this Tamilian person, he came to know that even this Tamil person's ancestors were brought here to the island as slaves, and they were made to work as the laborers in the sugarcane fields, factories, and to cut timber in the jungles and haul it to the boats and to dump it in the boats. These were the things which were done in the early days when it was just captured by the foreign rulers. Here they used to capture the people and take them to these islands and make them work as the laborers. So one among them was the descendants and ancestors of Mr. Govindan. Then that is how he has been staying there, he's existing there. Then all of them together happily came to share in the triumphs and defeats of whoever happened to be their masters among the buccaneering trinity of those days, the Dutch, the French, and the English. Then he says when everyone came here, so they lived happily together, and they were just working for them and to share the triumphs means to share the success and the defeats of whatever happened now because they have been bought as the slaves there. They had to be there and they had to mingle with the success and the defeats of whoever were their masters. If their masters are saying something, they had to follow that, and if they are having the success, they would enjoy, and if it's a defeat, then they have to bear that also. And Trinity is here that three groups of people. So those days there were three foreign rulers there: the Dutch, the French, and the English. So among this, there's whoever one will be their masters. It was going on so, and they had to follow the rules and instructions there. Then these three group of people, that is the Dutch, the French, and the English, they were constantly waging war for the possession of the island and for its spices which was available there, the sugar field which was there for the sugar, and for the strategic position on the maritime route to the east, conveniently placed as it was a piratical purposes. Now this was an island which had many wealth in it of spices, and it was a very good position for route to east, and they could use it for piratical purposes. So each and every group of these three were trying to wage war and win and take hold over this island. So this is how it was going on. The author here is trying to give us the history of the Mauritius, also how it was like in the ancient days. Here you can see different races of people all together enjoying and sitting together without any partiality. You can also see the sugarcane fields and the workers being working in that field. So this is how the people from different countries were taken and made there to work as laborers in the fields. Okay. Then he also says that, however, the Battle of 1810 ended all that in favor of English. Means in 1810, when the battle ended, it was in the favor of English. The English had won the battle, and it was their capture or the rule which was going on in the island. The French surrendered themselves and they handed over the island, but they extracted a favor from the English, from the conquerors, that the French. They said that whatever influence we have left here on the island will be left intact. Means you will not just you will not just compete, or you will not trouble or remove the influence which we have left here in the island, and we are going to surrender it, and we will move from here. But whatever we have left, the influence of us, it will be like that only, without being changed. So this was accepted by the Englishmen. They kept their word till the last day of the rule of the English, which ended in 1968. And that is the what that we find still the musical and the unpronounceable names in the Mauritius, which belongs to French descent, like Trox, Pitches, View, Pessin, Quarter Bornes, Purified, Ross Belay, and so on, which we are unable to pronounce also, which are the French names, the French influence which are left without any intact. Then the people are extremely relaxed, he says. He says they're warm towards strangers. They never have any partiality. They are very hospitality is there in the people's nature. Then in the streets, in the bazaars, in the restaurants, it is common to be greeted and smiled. If you are even walking in the bazaars and restaurants, even though if you don't know the people, if you are, even if you are a stranger or a tourist there, you will be greeted with a big smile, as if you have just found a long lost friend and you are just meeting your friend all of a sudden. So author says that I felt a bit awkward because I, even though coming from Bombay, I did not had that expression as a city dweller. Though I am keeping from my peak as my belonging from the city dweller of Bombay, which is a very good city, and I failed to show that smile which they were showing to me. He says I react awkwardly at the first to such spontaneity and feel ashamed that I'm not even able to produce a matching smile. He feels that they are so good and says they smile so nicely with the strangers with the warm welcome that even I'm not able to match my smile with them. Though I'm coming with from a city like Bombay, he goes on like this. This shows the feeling of oneness and the hospitality of the people of Mauritius here. Then he says the same atmosphere of friendliness prevails even in Port Louis, the seat of government. He says where all the government people and the ministers are there in Port Louis. Even there, they will not find any kind of partiality. All are born to the grace. All are equal. All are just behaving like ordinary people. Even the ministers, when they go to the airport lounge or in a hotel lobby, they just move as a common people. No very protective shield of hangers or no security men. They're just so common and they approach to each and everyone. And he says that I'm shown a modest looking flat in a busy street lined with shops and crawling traffic. He's just so simple and he's being welcomed so warmly in that busy street, and he's so happy. Then he says it is the residence of the Prime Minister of Mauritius. He also visits the Prime Minister's residence of Mauritius in the Mauritius there. Then he says Port Louis brings to my mind Joseph Conrad and Maugham. This little port town seems as if it were built up with the suggestions of these writers to suit their novels and short stories. Then here he says, when I see the Port Louis, its structure, its infrastructure and all, he finds that it is just suiting the novels and short stories which he has learned. He says that we are having merchant ships, we have trawlers, dinghies, stand anchored in the harbor. These are different kinds of boats with different styles, which are anchored means all lined up in the harbor where all the boats are stood up. with cobwebs of ropes, with the nets and all, and the flags which are there. So he says that he used to just read the novels and the stories. Now he is able to see that in front of him, and he's so happy to remember all the stories which he had read before. Then he says he also finds the grimy sailors and dock hands, the seamen's cap launch and oil drums and packing cases or lean against bleak warehouse walls, smoking pipes. Then he also says sugarcane fields like a carpet of green cover the island on all the sides as far as the eye can see up to the foot of distant blue mountains. He can see all these boats and all. He can see the people working in the fields. He can see the sugarcane fields here. It's as if the carpet of green covered. Then he can see the blue mountains. So students, you can imagine the kind of scenic beauty he had seen there and he's trying to express here. Then he says that they also have a volcanic happening of geological ages. Then these mountains have traditional monotonous pyramidal shapes. They have different kind of shapes. Monotonous means a traditional monotonous is a single size and shape of pyramid shape of mountains you can see in this Mauritius. Then their outlines are freakish and whimsical, and it is somewhat perpendicular drops, pinpointed peaks, different types of outer layer of the outlines of the mountains can be seen. And you are also having a heavy big boulders as big as skyscraper. The height of the mountains are also as if it's going and meeting the skyscraper at the tall buildings. So in this way he is describing the natural beauty of the Mauritius. Here you can have a view of Port Louis. So when he sees this area, he just recalls the novels and the stories which he had been reading throughout. Okay. Then he also says that there is no railway in Mauritius. There are well-maintained trunk and arterial roads which connects each and every villages and towns, and through the ubiquitous sugarcane fields. It goes from the sugarcane field and from the many villages and towns, and it is just connecting each other. Then he says, although the whole country is only 64 kilometer by 50 kilometer in size, driving around the island for sightseeing makes me feel curiously that I am in a place where as sprawling as India. He says, though it is a small area, when I travel and drive in the car and explore Mauritius, I feel just I am just in India, as bigger area as India. Then he says, but the excellent weather and the breathtaking landscapes are all round make up for many hours just sitting inside a car. Means the landscapes which are there, you can sit and enjoy the beauty over there. With just sitting inside the car, you can enjoy the whole beauty here. Then it is very common for people to drive up and down an average 70 kilometer to cocktail party or dinner with friends. So they can enjoy, drive up and have the party and dinners with friends here. So students, they all can plan a trip for Mauritius. It's so good to listen to the beauty and the nature of the Mauritius here. Then I note the trees here are so unlike the gigantic specimens. He sees that the trees here are so big in size, and he says, I have seen in Andaman Islands, as he has seen in Andaman Islands, he could see here. Then he says, disappointingly enough, they are short and gnarled even in interior of jungles. He could also see that the small and short types of grasses and the plants he could see in the jungles, which look as if it is not grown properly, it's abnormal. Then he says that there are no tigers or lions or elephants or any kinds of wildlife here, nor even the poisonous snakes or insects are found. Then he says only the bat was the only mammal before man arrived on island with the monkey and deer centuries ago. So these are the few animals which you can find here. Unfortunately, the birds are dwindling in number and variety. The dodo, a bird which could not fly and which certainly had no claims to beauty and elegance, was a native of this island. Yes, students, you have heard about dodo, which has become an extinct bird now. So it was a native of this island, but now it's not found. It has totally disappeared from the earth. Then, and so are the giant tortoises of the Aldabra variety. This is the variety of the species of tortoises which are found here. It's a giant, a big species of tortoise which are found here. The name is Aldabra, and of which few specimens have been bought and kept in an enclosure in the botanical gardens of Pamplemouses. So few specimens which are left out of the tortoise has been kept in the uh, the botanical gardens here, so that it has been safe and the tourists can have a look and learn and know about it. So students, here we can see the beautiful scene, the beautiful in the nature and the beauty which has been very calmly and very, you can say mesmerizingly, the author has explained here. So the next part of the chapter we'll be learning in the next video. I hope you like the video. Thank you for watching it. Do go and see my this part 2 of this chapter so that you understand the lesson better. Thank you for watching my video.